Welcome. This is another meeting between YesCalifornia Independence Campaign and the POMO Indigenous people of Mendocino County, represented here by, at least as far as their interest with the Tule elk, returning to the land by Jewelina Acosta. Hello, Jewelina. Thanks for joining us today. Thanks for putting this all together. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
You just got over being sick recently?
Yeah.
And there's the next generation. That's why we're doing this. So just to bring everybody up to speed, I'm going to turn it over to Jewelina here, the Director of Research for the POMO Country Tule Elk Management Plan, but which was her idea for the term, and the research been directed by her primarily. So a few months ago, we met Jewelina, and she said, you know, returning land to the indigenous to make up for a genocide is certainly a good idea. But is there something more realistic and immediate that we could do? And we were like, whoa. She goes, I mean, I'd like to turn back the clock and fix everything, but come on. So she came to us at a very pragmatic, rational plane, and we had to adjust and meet her there. And basically what she said was, there's these animals called the Tule elk, and they are important to us. Maybe they're not important to you, but they matter to us in a really, really big way. Food, culture, it's not just food. It's like that animal living near us and on our land had a big connection to us. Like Mount Fuji to the Japanese in Japan, like Mount Ararat to the Armenians in Armenia. It's part of who we are. And so we need to see them. We need them on our land. We need to be able to eat them and live with them. And we're not allowed to do that. Now, after we were shocked to hear that, we looked into it and we found out they're not. The POMO who survived a genocide are not allowed by California officials and American officials from having the animal on their land, even though the Tule elk was indigenous to their land. They're not trying to introduce a foreign species into an area. First, it's their land, and they're trying to get an animal that belonged to that land to return to their land. And the government that committed a genocide against them, who's still in charge, is telling them, I don't know if we want to let you do that. Am I roughly getting that correct, Jewelina?
Yeah. I'm
okay. I don't mean to cartoon it, but just to bring people up to speed, yes, this is happening, and it's in California. That's what shocked us here at Yes, and why we got involved and said we want to help. So I'm going to turn it over to Jewelina. You found an article recently about that might impact our research. I'll pull it up if maybe you can walk people through that.
Look at what I made, Mommy.
Is that showing? It should say Tribes National Park Service agree. So this is the article that Jewelina showed us. Jewelina, can you see this?
Mommy's calling.
No.
Okay. All right, let me do it differently. Let's try again. Share screen, window, StreamYard or forward. Share. Okay. Can everyone see this article now?
Okay.
I can see it.
Okay. So here's the article. Tribes National Park Service agreed to co-management plan for Point Reyes seashore. Jewelina, what was significant about this?
So in the beginning, so when I had originally brought the idea up to you to look into how we can raise Tule elk on our land, they weren't working with us. As far as I knew, that they weren't even involving tribes at all, any tribes. But since I've talked to you about this, and since I've kind of put it out there that I've been looking into ways that we can raise Tule elk on our lands. It seems that the people from the national park and state parks are opening up, giving more access to tribes to start working with them on these management plans, especially because the Tule elk were the Tule elk were they were dying, they were getting sick, and they were suffering from Jones disease. And then there was this big fight that happened between cattle ranchers and the national park. And so what I'm seeing now is kind of like the doors are opening up for tribes to start getting involved with the national parks. And not, like I've said, I'm not exactly sure who the person is that I'm gonna be contacting about this article here, and who's working on the management plan with them, because they are talking about involving traditional ecological knowledge. And so for me, I've been trying to get involved in this for that purpose, by trying to encourage people to start bringing back our relationship to the elk, the way that we would hunt them, the way that we would raise them, how we kind of mimic their behaviors throughout history. And so so that's why I'm getting involved in it. Sorry, Marcus. It's just
That's perfect. That's perfect. I'm putting out the quote so everyone can follow. This is the key quote from the article. This is the name of the article Jewelina's talking about. Tribes National Park Service agreed to co-management plan for Point Reyes seashore. This is the operative part. The National Park Service and the Federation of Coastal, Miwok, and Southern POMO tribes have signed a new management agreement, new type of management agreement for the Point Reyes National Seashore, allowing Native Americans greater authority. So this is what Jewelina's pointing to, because she was saying, why can't other POMO have authority in other parts of their traditional area outside of the Point Reyes thing in order to manage the elk? And they were constantly being told by the National Park Service, we run things and you do what we're told. And now here's Point Reyes at least saying, you know what, maybe we should listen to the indigenous, which includes some POMO, about management of the land. So this is a great, great piece of news you found, Jewelina, and it's a great, great precedent for you to be able to take to the, we'll get to it, but the Mendocino Deer Hunt Region Park Service group. Am I getting that right? Roughly, this is a positive development that they might agree to the demands that you were looking to pursue.
mm-hmm. Because in the beginning, it was really like not having that opportunity to work with them, and then us discussing like, well, maybe we can open up our land to raise Tule elk, and then looking into how we would be able to transport the elk if they had Jones disease or whatever that they were bringing up. That was the main concern for a lot of people, but now seeing it where the National Park Service is trying to work with tribes, it kind of makes it where it's more possible for us to get involved with where the Tule elk are already at, instead of like in the beginning of our discussions, it was me saying, okay, well, if they're not going to let us do it over there, then we might as well bring them home, basically. And now it's like open up the doors to where, okay, if someone from Graton has been contacted and has been talking to the state parks, then that's who I would want to be contacting. I would want to be talking to them, seeing if there's the meetings that are already ongoing between Graton and the state parks. Because I had also mentioned too was that there were 16 different locations where we would be coming up with management plans. I think there was Jug Handle, there was I can't even remember all of them. But that's kind of what I'm looking into right now. Is trying to contact somebody from Graton and seeing if we can work with them.
Yeah. Okay, I put it down. That's something we all collectively need to get an answer to. Is Graton having the conferences with the National Park Service they're said to have? Again, we posted, this is the article that Jewelina Acosta, the research director for the POMO management plan for the Tule ELK, has agreed to direct. And here's some of the key quotes. Jewelina, may I have your permission to show some of the maps of the region that we're talking about, just so people can follow along?
Yes.
Okay. Can everyone see this PowerPoint?
I can see it.
Okay, thanks, Jason. So this is roughly, there's another video where we go into this into great depth, so I don't want to do that, but roughly this is what Jewelina was talking about. This started with the Tule elk were being killed in mass on the Point Reyes National Park Service. Unique elk in California, they're endemic to California, and they were being killed to make room for cows, which was highly offensive to the indigenous in the POMO area. So this is the Tule elk. These pink areas are key. They live only in these areas right now. Now, traditionally, here's where the Tule elk lived. In this section of California, they were found nowhere else in the world, just here. As you can see, from about 1840 to 1860, over 20 years, they were nearly wiped out. And then by 1890, they were almost presumed to be extinct. There was another population that was found. So what we did was we took the POMO country map from Wikipedia. We need a better map of POMO country. And we took that and overlaid it over the Tule elk area. So you can see here's the POMO. And here's the Tule elk. So you can see where the Tule elk exists now and over the POMO area. So the Tule elk are in part of the POMO area, but not all of it. This is the southern area that Jewelina was primarily concerned about. Here is the historical range of the Tule elk, this black line. Took it from this map, historical distribution. So Tule elk are supposed to exist throughout this black line. They exist only in these pink pockets. They're supposed to exist. This whole black thing should be filled with pink. It's not. That's a problem. Pink is where the Tule elk are now. This whole area is where they should be. The green is the POMO, where they should be. So you can see here's part of the POMO land. Part of the POMO land within the traditional range of the Tule elk. And it's partly there. But then there's this section of POMO land with no Tule elk in it, where the Tule elk should be. And we felt that that was a great argument for the POMO to make, saying, hey, these elk used to live on our traditional land. Here's our traditional land. They're also supposed to be there, and they're not. So if you care about the environment and animals and indigenous, these elk should be in this area for sure. Here's another map showing the distribution of the Tule elk. This is where it gets interesting. So this is the Mendocino Hunt Zone map. Here is the POMO territory over the Mendocino Hunt Zone map. The Mendocino Hunt Zone map is by the California Department of Fish and Game. So the state of California manages this whole thing here. And they determine, not the POMO, if you're in this area, if you get to hunt and kill elk. So the POMO had a genocide committed to them. They don't even get to determine on their own land if they can hunt the elk. The California Forest Service, or Fish and Wildlife, which is connected to the government that in 1849 to 1852 committed a genocide, is telling them, no, we manage this area and we determine who gets to hunt an elk and not. So Jewelina was pointing out, well, that's not fair. So we identified this is the agency that has to change the way it thinks in this specific region. Tule elk management unit by the California Department of Fish and Wildlife, and the Mendocino Hunt Zone map by the California Department. These are the two agencies that have to change their tune and work with the Tule to allow the POMO to allow the Tule elk there. Elk management units, just another map showing it's this one and where it belongs. Again, more of the same. We were pointing out that if you look up Tule elk hunts, everybody who hunts Tule elk is white, and there are no pictures of indigenous people hunting the Tule elk because they're basically banned from doing so. Here are the agencies and the reports that run all of the laws regarding Tule elk. The Elk Conservation and Management Plan, December 2018, by the California Department of Fish and Wildlife, and the General Management Plan Amendment, Final Environmental Impact Statement for the Point Reyes Seashore Plan for the Tule elk, September 2020. Here's those documents more. And I'm not going to go over all of this, but it's basically every piece of law with the yellow highlight activated, showing all of the key things from these two management plans. So these two plans encapsulate the law for California, this one and this one. We summarized all of them and all of the key parts for the POMO Indigenous so they could see that. And there's the Fish and Wildlife Game Code. So let's go back to Jewelina. Did I get something wrong? What do we need to adjust? I know we still need to get the map right. Comments, thoughts?
No, you did great. That looks good. And I do want to make it a point too that even though there are some Tule elk within POMO territory, like you said, we don't necessarily have any rights to hunt or go and collect Tule elk. I was told by a friend of mine even that someone had gone and hunted for Tule elk on their reservation, and they had permission from the tribe that they were able to go and hunt, and they came across some elk, took the elk, distributed the meat, and was contacted, taken to court, and then fined for taking that elk's life. Even though we've seen time and time again how they've gone and used they've removed elk like by killing them and then to test them to see if they've had Jones disease, or even seeing that they're just dying of starvation and disease because they don't have enough area to graze over. And so seeing these types of things, what it is for me, that the most important thing for me is like you bringing up the law and all that stuff, it helps me, but the most important thing for me is to bring that relationship back to our people, where our people are knowledgeable not only with the law, but where they say, okay, I know how to go and hunt for elk. I know how to lure an elk in because we've had songs, we've had teachings, we know how to use every part of that animal. And so when I see articles where it's stating that, okay, these Tule elk are just literally just dying and they're diseased and their carcasses are showing up, and there's not just one of them, but multiple carcasses that are just popping up on their property, it seems like it aggravates me a little bit, because I'm like, here I am, I'm raising my own kids to where it's like, okay, we go hunting for deer meat, that's the next best thing, I guess. And even doing something like that, it's like, I don't want to ignore what's going on over at Point Reyes with the Tule elk, with them dying so rapidly, and their numbers are just declining while the cattle's numbers are just going and going, and it seems like the way that these cattle ranchers are getting angered by what's going on to their cattle and not really what's going on to the Tule with the Tule elk. It's to me, it doesn't make any sense. And so the fact that we have to look into the law and all that stuff it's nice. It's nice to be able to reference those laws when you're going and you're talking to Fish and Game and saying, hey, you say it's not possible for us to do this, but here, this is going on here and here. it's still the only thing that I want to see happening is just that relationship starts taking place. And as you can, like, I get really busy, I guess. And like I said, like, I've kind of put this on the back burner because of my own health and everything. So I'm just, I just want to make it like more interesting for people, I guess, because I feel like people are able to kind of ignore what's going on because it's not right in front of them. But talking to some people where it's like, okay, do you want to see your kids doing something other than just sitting in front of a phone for 10 hours out of the day, you know, and actually going out on the land, getting to know, learning about traditional knowledge, you know, what we had at one point, the relationships that we had. And most people are like, yeah, of course, you know, I'm stressed out with my kids, you know, I see that they're not really retaining a lot of the lessons that are being pushed on them through like school and like activities at school, whatever. But I'm sorry, I'm trying to like concentrate and I feel like I'm having a hard time here.
You're doing well, and everything you said flows and makes sense. Please just keep going. It's going very well.
So for me, it's really coming up with a plan to what it would look like to raise an elk. You know, how much room do you need? How many members are in that elk family that looks right for your property, your boundaries, I guess. And then taking that and teaching people how to raise tule elk, how to develop that relationship, then also how you're gonna turn that into like hunting. Okay, so not everyone is interested in hunting, but people do like to make tools. You can use the elk bones to make tools with it, and you can tan hide. There's a lot that goes into being able to raise elk, I guess. And what I'm seeing is that there's when a non-native person goes and they're interested in going and getting an elk, it's just for sport. With us, what I would want to see is it being, again, a relationship that you're actually having with that animal. And there's just so much that goes into it. And I like being able to come onto these meetings and talk about like the laws and how we can make that possible, you know? So I appreciate what you and Jason do. So I just want to see us like get involved, I guess, with Graton and see what they have going so far.
That's good. Yeah, it's good. And we have to remind ourselves what we're doing here and what we're trying. And that's a great summary. Great summary, Jewelina. We a few months ago when we started on this, Jewelina had a dream, a California dream, that she had the right to have an endangered animal return to its natural distribution on her land. And maybe there could be some sort of reparations for a genocide by not having her culture ripped apart and somewhat made whole again. And those are California values I think everyone would support. The environment, returning the elk to their natural territory, paying back for the wrongs that we did. And I totally love the idea. And she said, well, you know, part of the problem is that when we go talk to the officials, the National Park Service or the Federal California Fish and Game, they're just like, yeah, get out of here. We can't do anything like that. And they don't really take time to walk us through the law or point out what the law says. They just say, ain't going to happen, go away. And so we started looking into, well, what does the law say? So we said, at least we can't change the law, but at least we can inform you of what the law is. So the next time you meet a California Department of Fish and Game official, and they say, well, the law says X, you'll go, really? Because I know that page 64, quote, X says literally, don't worry, I'll read it to you. Do you need the citation and the link? I can send it to you. And I know the phone number of the director if there's any questions about how I'm misinterpreting it. Would you like me to email the director who's your boss about how you disagree with the interpretation of Title 65666? Whoa, hold on. And I said, Jewelina, I know that's not the answer, but have your people ever had anything like that? And she said, no, they don't tell us what's up. They just say, no, go away. And I said, wouldn't it change the game if you could go and say, I actually know what the law says. And it doesn't say that. Here's what it says. And if you're saying I'm incorrect, let me get your name and the date. And then I'm working with other activists, and we're going to inform the person above you that you said the law doesn't say this when I know it does. And then you can expect a phone call from your boss. That's called speaking government. And we started to teach her, and she goes, you know, that would be different. That makes things a little bit different around these parts. Now, is that it's all fixed and done? No, but am I getting this wrong, Jewelina? That would at least be different. Something y'all never had before, right? Okay, so that's what we're trying to do, educate people. We're not going to fix this. The POMO are going to fix this. We're not telling the POMO what to do. The POMO asked for information, and we said, look, we'll spend the hours it takes to do the work to get it nice and compiled, and then we'll teach it to you. And then you do with it as the POMO whatever you want to do with it. If you want to go to a nice conference, see you later, never, fine. If you want to take it and keep fighting, if you want to ask for more, whatever you want. So if they're in the driver's seat, we serve them. I want to be very careful about the relationship at their discretion and their direction. If I said that wrong, Jewelina, please call me out. Okay. We're winding down. We've got about 20 more minutes. What other research would you like us to look into for next time? You're on mute.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Because I have my kids in the background.
Yeah, I get. Yeah, it's the new norm.
So I get, for me, like I said, the next step for me would be to talk to somebody from Graton, figuring out like who that point of contact. And I was really hoping that Javier would have been on here because he's more familiar with the people at Graton than I am. So I'm not sure, like I've said, who I'm going to be contacting or what, if they have any meetings. My assumption is that they are having meetings that are going on because they have the article that states, you know, that they've been working with them. But Graton isn't the only tribe that is around the area. So just being able to kind of say, okay, Graton, who is it that you're talking to at the national park? Who's the point of contact? Can we get them involved in our meetings or even jump onto their meetings? That way we can start showing them this information too. You know, so I think that the next thing would be just trying to figure out who that point of contact would be. And I was hoping that Javier would be here, but he's not. So I'm really just gonna go off of the article.
Greg Sarris.
Yeah.
It says Greg Sarris, chairman of the Federated Indians of Graton Rancheria. Greg Sarris is the person they constantly mention that article of Graton Rancheria.
Yeah, and if it's the tribal chair.
How do you spell that? The last name?
I just posted it. It's Sarris. That's Sarris. Chairman of the Federated Indians of Graton. Greg, yeah. Sarris, Sarris. They mentioned him a couple times. They keep coming back to him.
Mm-hmm. And okay. See, I don't think I've actually met him.
Oh, no, I just meant like, if I have a, 1 second, guys. Oh, yeah, 1 second.
So if I could, just real quick, so I kind of remember something about before like when we were having our first meeting, there was something about the state officials were saying something like, you guys never got a management plan together, and so you having no management plan can't do anything because you don't have it planned out. And now it sounds like they're willing to work with you guys on that. Would it be possible or viable? Would it be something you would want to look into, the possibility of when that management plan gets developed, as it's getting put together, to make sure that something is in there that includes relocation of at least some Thule back to their native land, their land that they are actually native to, and specifically to be stewarded by indigenous peoples on whose lands the Thule reside. Is that something you'd want to look into, or?
Yeah, because like I said, what I originally had thought of was doing it here at our land, where I'm from, at Yokeo. And so I was trying to figure out, we were trying to come up with the way, well, how would you transport them? What would it look like? But being able to have the opportunity to kind of work with where the Thule elk are already at right now is like my kind of like, I want to start there. If it's possible to start there, I'd want to start there. But definitely, of course, because we want those populations to increase. So for the Thule elk populations, they were already complaining about too many Thule elk. That's why they were killing them, and allowing them to their bodies just to be going and tossed off, and not even, and that's what got me too, was that even when the Thule elk were being killed, the tribes were not involved. Nobody from Fish and Game said, hey, we just took out 10 elk, maybe you guys might want to use their body parts, or maybe even, go and feed your elders, or, take part in this, or have the opportunity for you guys to come out and experience what it would be like to hunt again, like that. None of those options were for us. And so I want to work on this co-management plan, but definitely for the numbers to increase with the Thule elk, I think that they should be spread out all throughout California. And that's why it's like looking at it as...
Can I go with me? Can I go?
1 second. So starting there at Point Reyes, and then eventually expanding, and then saying, okay, we're going to raise them here on Yokeo soil as well.
Yeah, no, I'm one of those like logistic, strategical type thinkers, and the way I see it, because like you said, Point Reyes doesn't really have enough room. I mean, they want more of that room for the cows. So like, they're kind of at max top right now in that spot. And so to better manage the Thule without just murdering them all off, to better manage them, the plan could be, well, one, it could consist of something that, any potential cold stock, if they're getting cold not because of disease, but because of overpopulation, very specifically, that all of that is to go to indigenous nations that should be mandatory. And that also, because Point Reyes can't hold anymore, that part of the management plan would be relocation of some up to your neck of the woods. And my head's just and that those relocated elk would be very specifically for the indigenous peoples in that area to preside over or steward. And then the other thing that that the state and whatnot would probably mandate is some sort of plan on how to keep them penned, right? Which, I mean, we can look into like what all they say as specifics for requirements on fencing, but if they don't really have a whole lot in the way of fencing, do primitive fencing, you know, sharpen some sticks and poke the pointy end into the ground till it won't wiggle anymore, and, you know, kind of enclose a nice big area like that. I mean, there's lots of possibilities. Is what I'm trying to get at.
All right, good points, good points. 1 second, I got something to show you, Jewelina, I think you might like. Tribal Leaders Directory. Okay. Oh, there it is. Give me 1 second. I'm making an email. I'll share with you both here in a second. I found all the contact information for Greg Sarris. Jewelina, I'm going to email that to you right now.
Awesome. Thank you.
Give me 1 second here. So Graton. E, F, G. No. Oh, 1 second. Oof. Okay. Let's. All right. 1 second here. Almost got it.
While you're doing that, another quick thought that I had, in order to, you know, because they're gonna want something out of anything, right? And when I say they, I mean the powers that be, the people in charge who say no, you can't. They always want their hands or palms greased. So the grease that we could potentially give them, if they were to say accept a management plan that locates rather than culls for population control, and allows stewardship over those elk on native lands to be in the sole hands of the native people. If they were to go with that, one potential way to grease their palms is, you know, hey, you know, for people who are interested, maybe we could be willing to, you know, allow a certain number of people to come along and learn these things on how to raise, hunt, respect and appreciate and ultimately utilize these elk. Not saying, oh, we'll sell you a hunting permit for, $5,000. But, if your interest is hunting, you can go apply to the state for that. If your interest is learning, especially learning how to be in better, kind of ecological relationship with living things, that's something that a lot of Californians do seem kind of keen on. And I can think of no one better, really, than Indigenous Nations folks to teach us whiteys.
Yeah. Okay, well, I thought I found his email. I'm just going to email this both to you. This is the Graton Rancheria contact.
Okay.
And okay, it's sent. So you will have you'll have an email, Jewelina and Jason, Graton Rancheria contact, and it's the article featuring Greg Sarris, his email at Sonoma University, his webpage at Sonoma University, his personal webpage and contact, his Graton Rancheria page and contact, and a phone number for Graton Rancheria, and that should at least get you in the right direction.
Okay, perfect. So I'll reach out to him and I'll see how much they've done with this co-management plan.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
that's pretty much the idea of the co-managing, is to open up these opportunities, not just for Indigenous people, but non-Indigenous too. And teaching everyone, how to establish this relationship with the elk.
Yeah, absolutely. That's absolutely what it's about.
And because he does mention the traditional ecological knowledge, that's why I'm trying to reach out to him, to talk to him, because as I've said, that's pretty much what I really care about, is just bringing that side of it back to our people,
Yeah. This unfair
steps in the process. Sorry, Marcus.
Oh no, yeah. The unfair reality is that what's important to you and your people is the right thing. You want to retain your culture. You want to practice ways so that your culture goes on for generations, 7 generations out. Unfortunately, although the California government committed a genocide that is documented, and our governor even apologized, so everybody knows the genocide happened, and everybody knows it was the California government in Sacramento that did it, that government never went through a Nuremberg trials like the Nazis. They never had to apologize. I mean, I guess technically they apologized, but they never had to atone for it. And so nobody's ever gone back and go, well, all the stuff we gained from the genocide should be restored as much as possible. That's something they at least did for the Jews during with the Nuremberg trials. They never did that for the POMO. So you still have the National Park Service and the California Department of Fish and Game going, well, yeah, I understand that someone who's attached to my agency 100 years ago killed off your people, but I'm still in charge and you have to do what I say. And I don't have to listen to you. And you're not going to be able to get to have the freedom of culture that you want until you learn to navigate the legal system. Because unfortunately, nobody said, hey, a genocide was committed against the Indigenous, and the Constitution that made California a state never involved votes from the Indigenous, which makes it illegal under international law. So you were almost wiped out, and nobody cared what your opinion was, and nobody asked what your opinion was. And they go, but here's the law, and you better live by it. And unfortunately, until there's some sort of something to turn that on its head, y'all are going to have to learn the law to fight for the rights that are really just yours and should be given to yours inalienably. And that's the cold, harsh reality of it. You shouldn't have to do this. You should be able to go like, look, you guys screwed us over pretty bad. All we're asking for is a little bit of this and that. Can't you just give it to us or get out of our way? But they're not going to give a removal of the law for the POMO to pay back for the indigenous, although they should. So best thing we can do in Yes is empower you to know the law so that you all can fight, because every story you told me, Jewelina, was they don't educate you guys up there. They just, National Park Service just says, no, tough, right? They don't go, hey, I know it's upsetting, but we can't do that. Let me walk you through the book. Here's page 36. See this section? Oh, I don't understand. Can you explain? Oh, that's okay. Here's another report. I will take time to make sure that you understand exactly why we're doing this and exactly what the law is so that you're fully comprehending. Correct me if I'm wrong. California Department of Fish and Game never did that to you or your people going back to when you were a little girl. Am I getting this wrong?
No.
Okay. So that's them not doing their job as a government agency funded by tax money. Unfortunately, yes, California will have to do their job for them. And we're happy to
And
do
to
so.
back that point up, as a white Californian, I've had it wasn't rightfully given to me, but I've had traffic tickets and had to, figure out, wait, as a non-criminal, what do I do? How do I go about this? I have had police officers like 2 or 3 times, like, explain it all to me. Okay, so what you're going to want to do is between this time and that time, you take this bus up here and it'll drop you off right outside of the Civic Center. You go upstairs, go inside, go find courtroom C10, go fill out this piece of paper, ask the clerk for form, 114B or whatever, right? Like, literally hold my hand and walk me through it. And that's something that they're supposed to do. It's something that's part of their actual purview of their job. So yeah, the fact that any official police officer of any sort, fish and game, wildlife, anything, right? Any of them who don't do that for a citizen are actually wronging their citizens and breaking a law. If
And
they
that's
don't
the
know,
thing,
they can
though,
say
is
they
that
don't
they
know.
look at us as we're separate. We're separate. The whole sovereign nation thing, that they take it as like we're not even a part of their country. We're not American citizens to them, so they don't need to help us. And I think that mentality is still here, where they believe that they don't have to help us, they don't have to educate us, and if and sometimes too, it's really that they don't know either. That they don't know how to make it possible for us, because we are a little bit different. That some people do understand, okay, like you are native, so like with fishing, and we go out and we go, so there's this place over along the coast where we've literally had to fight for our right to go fish there, to go camp there. And now we have it, but a lot of people, they look at it as like we don't have that right, and they don't realize like everything that we've done to make it possible for what everyone before me has had to do to make it possible for me to go and peacefully go fishing without being harassed by fishing game, without them coming and telling me, hey, I need you to count how many. Well, now it's not even possible for us to go and get abalone. But at one point, you know, it was like, you know, you have to follow the rules of everyone else. We don't care that you're over here collecting for not just yourself, but your whole family, your whole tribe sometimes, because there are certain seasons that we knew, okay, certain seasons you just go, you don't go out all year to go and collect abalone. You don't go out all year to go hunting for a buck or whatever. There's certain, you know, times that you just got to wait. And so we would go out and we would go and collect abalone. And I remember when I was a kid, and I was with my grandma getting stopped by them, and they were there counting all the abalone. And then they told her, you know, you got to put this one back, you know, and you got to put that one back. And so my grandma, she actually had to educate somebody, and it was really nice because he was understanding, you know, and but at the same time too, it's like if my grandma didn't take that opportunity to educate him, if she didn't know the law, if she didn't know her history, then he would have just been like, no, I don't care. You know, you don't get a few extra abalone, you know, it's same for everybody. And that's the thing, is like, I want to make it that co-management plan. It needs to be realistic with our people. We don't just go out there fishing for ourselves. We don't go out hunting for ourselves. It's for us, our family, our elders, the tribal members. Usually that's what it is. You got one person, one or two people who are like, okay, I agree to do this, you know? And so when you got someone coming out to you and saying, no, you can't do this, it's like, you don't get to put me in a bracket with everyone else, you know? And that's where that co-management, it's important for them to see, okay, this is what you guys have done throughout history. This is your protocols, and we respect it. But we're also going to make sure that those protocols are, it's actually going to benefit the animal too. Because I don't want to say, hey, like, I think I want to go hunting for elk, go and get at least 3 bodies a year, you know, and then, you know, it happened, like I end up with too much, and then I got a decaying elk body over here that I'm not able to use because I decided that I wanted more than I should have. And so it's important to for both of us to kind of look at it as like, what is going to actually benefit the animal? Because really that's all that I care, you know, all that I care about. It's like, yeah, I want to go out and be able to say, like, hey, I went and got myself an elk and bring it to my family and say, hey, let's cook it up. You know, let's use its horns. Let's tan the hide. Let's show the kids how to do all this stuff, you know. But I don't. Why? Because I'm seeing these articles popping up where these elk are just dying. And it's sad, where it's like, I don't even feel like I should have the right to go out there. But then it's like, I know that if we don't start changing this idea that elk aren't anything really, like they're only here in California, you know, and cows are everywhere. So why are we putting the cows' lives above the elk when the elk were indigenous too? And that's what kind of bothers me too, is like, at one point it was our people that was in the same position as these elk. Kids were dying, their body, they're getting diseases, and people were just turning a blind eye. And all of our indigenous babies and our families, they're all dying, you know, and no one said anything. And now it's like, okay, now it's our turn to where we can speak up for these elk. Basically, we're the voices for them. And so I feel like, yeah, I want to be able to go out and get 3 elk a year, but is that realistic? I don't know, because I haven't done it yet, but we'll see. And so seeing like, okay, you guys already have these opportunities for non-native hunters to go out and get them. They got to pay what, a couple grand, you know, but they go out and they have that opportunity to go out and hunt, and no one bats an eye. But when it's our indigenous people that are saying, hey, I want to go out and hunt an elk, like I said, one of my friends, you know, explaining the story of them having to pay fines and going to court and going through this whole process where they're being scrutinized for going and getting an elk when her only intention was to go out there and get it for her and her family and have this experience with her children. And they made it into this big old ordeal where it's like, no, you guys are actually accusing her of what you guys are doing, because you guys are letting them die. You're killing them off. And you guys are the ones who are breaking the law. It's not us. But you need someone to point the finger at, and we're the easiest targets because those laws that were written and everything, it wasn't written by us. And that's where I want to kind of change it. This whole co-management, it's like it's going to be written by us. We're going to be the ones who are going to say, okay, this is what works for our people. This is what throughout history has worked for our people. You know, not just with the elk, but with all other beings, you know? So I just yeah, I see it happening. It's just I know it's a slow process. And that's fine too. It's fine because the work is being done, and we're talking and talking about it too. It's like I get re-amped about it, I guess. You know.
That's good. That's excellent. That's very, very, very good. That's excellent.
So I guess
oh, there's Brian.
Oh, there you go. So next week, same time, I'm gonna advertise this more, and I might reach out to. Well, not I might. I will reach out to. You said his name was Greg.
Greg Sarris.
There you go. Yeah, so I'll be reaching out to him. I'll invite him to this meeting too. But I'm going to talk to him as well and see exactly how far they've gotten with the national parks in doing the elk management plan.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, that would be the next step, would be to, find out if they got anywhere and what that actually gets you. So, yeah, that would be the next step. Also, please, I need a map of the POMO country that the POMO people are cool with. Please.
I didn't send it to you?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. I thought I sent it, but I've been in a blur, you know.
I'll double check, but I just need something that's culturally sensitive for the locations, and we can update all the mapping.
Okay.
So. Okay, Brian, would you like to say anything, sir? Okay. Let's go to Jason. Jason, any comments?
Yeah, I'm just wondering, so as far as like research stuff, is there anything specific that I could look into for you?
Not that I can think of off the top of my head right now, because you guys have done a lot, and I really just want to make it so next week or even the week after, whatever, however long it takes, I'm really hoping that there's enough people to kind of jump on, so that way you guys can cover all of those different laws and what we've kind of talked about. And then just like I said, I kind of want to see where they are with the Thule elk at Point Reyes right now. And if Greg is the only person that they've contacted to work on this co-management plan, because like I said, Graton's not the only tribe, you know, that they should have reached out to. And even usually when I've asked people, you know, well, what tribes like are in your jurisdiction or whatever, where you're working in, most people don't know. So if Greg has been in contact with them and he's been the person who's been kind of like, oh, okay, this is what we're working on, this is what we want, this is what the tribal people want, then I want to know exactly who it is that he's talking to, who his point of contact is. So that way we can kind of start working on it, because we've done well, you guys have done like a lot of homework, you know, so there's a lot that you guys can cover that I feel would be great for all of us to kind of touch base and say, hey, you know, you guys have finally decided to start working with tribes, and this is what we have so far. And then Greg, you know, he might have a whole bunch, you know, and he might not have anything. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know exactly how much he's talked to them, how much they've already worked on a co-management plan for their area, but like I said, he wouldn't be the only person that they should be talking to. They should be talking to every tribe surrounding that area, and then some, all throughout California. Because like I said, eventually I don't want to just keep it at Point Reyes. You know, like I said, the population, once it increases, we're going to need to start moving them around. So all throughout California, I think it's important for all of us to know, you know, how we can work on a management plan for Tule Elk, and it'd be beneficial for everybody.
That's the way it should be. Yeah.
Yeah, but not at the top of my head, Jason. I can't think of anything right now that we could research. But just kind of touching base with him, I think might be the next step. Just reaching out to him.
Okay. I'd also just because like the co-management of resource and wildlife and stuff, there's more than just elk, and I've heard you mention like abalone and fishing. So maybe if you're up for it, maybe one thing that we can go over next time is like a list of all of the resource stuff that indigenous folks want access to, you know, unfettered access to. Because that's all going to need to be included in that co-management plan anyway, right?
Yeah, and I think like the information about Tule Elk, like how what they need to, what their diet looks like, what they eat during certain seasons. I guess when, because I mean too, like some people make the mistake of some people learn by trial and error, I guess, but educating people that there are certain times a year when you would leave those elk alone, you know, because there's mothers walking around who have babies in their tummies, you know, and you wouldn't want to take out an elk when it's carrying a baby. You want, yes, puppy. And
then when you're done calling, can you watch it?
yeah. So yeah, I think like educating on all everything pretty much that's beneficial to the elk, but then also like what we can gather in these areas too, because saying, okay, you're gonna have access to the Tule elk over in this area. Let's say it's over on, I don't know, over there at Stewart's Point. Well, what else grows out there that we can go out and collect too? You know, what else can we go out during this certain time of season when we're out there hunting for elk? Can we also get access to gather? You know, so yeah, I think I could come up with a little bit of a list, and maybe just like maybe researching a little bit of that too, like what their diets are, I guess, for the elk, and seeing what information that gives us.
Okay. All right. Okay. I'm going to call it quits there. Thank you all. We have each other's email. We can send notes from there and go on. Please send me the map, and we'll look into some additional things. We'll go from there. We'll try again next week.
Okay.
Thank you so much for being
All
here.
right. Thank you, guys.
Yeah.